If you have a golden retriever, you've definitely seen this before. It looks random. It makes no sense. But it's not random at all. And once you realize what it is, you won't look at them the same way again. Because golden retrievers have this one habit that almost every owner recognizes. They take things that aren't theirs. Socks, shoes, slippers, random objects from around the house, and they don't just grab them, they carry them around like it actually matters. Sometimes they walk past you slowly with it in their mouth, like they're trying to be subtle. Other times they proudly show it to you, like it's some kind of achievement. And then there are those moments where they just sit there, holding it, doing absolutely nothing with it, not chewing it, not destroying it, just holding it. And that's the part that makes it weird. Because if this was just about playing, they'd treat it like a toy. If it was boredom, you'd expect random behavior. But this isn't random. It's very specific. It's almost always the same types of objects, and it's almost always done in the same way. And once you start paying attention to that, it starts to feel less like a funny habit and more like something intentional. Because think about it, your dog has access to its own toys, things made for them, things they're allowed to play with, and yet they still choose your stuff, your socks, your shoes, things that smell like you. And that choice is not an accident. But before we go into why they do this, there's something even more interesting you need to notice first. Because the behavior itself isn't just about the object. It's about the moment it happens. Pay attention to when your dog does this. Is it when you're about to leave? When you've just come home? When you're not giving them attention? Or sometimes completely out of nowhere? Because those moments aren't random either. They follow patterns, subtle ones, but they're there, and most people never notice them. But once you do, you start to see that this behavior shows up at very specific times. And that's where it gets interesting. Because now it's not just about, why does my dog steal socks? It becomes, why does my dog do this at that exact moment? And that question matters, because the timing tells you more than the behavior itself. For example, some golden retrievers will grab something the moment they hear you getting ready to leave. Others do it when you walk back into the house. And some do it when things are calm, almost like they're trying to start something. And when you line those moments up, a pattern starts to form. A pattern that has nothing to do with random energy and everything to do with interaction. Because every time your dog does this, something happens next. You react. You look at them. You talk to them. Maybe you chase them. Maybe you laugh. Maybe you try to take it back. But either way, something changes, and your dog learns from that. Over time, they start to associate this behavior with a reaction from you. And not just any reaction, your attention. And attention, for a golden retriever, is everything. These dogs are wired to stay connected to you, to interact, to be involved in whatever you're doing. So when they figure out that grabbing a sock instantly gets your attention, they repeat it, again and again. But here's where it gets more interesting. Because if it was only about attention, they would just do anything to get it. Bark, jump, nudge you. But they don't. They go for something specific, something that belongs to you. And that detail matters more than people think, because your scent is on that object, your presence. And to your dog, that's not just a random item. It's something connected to you. And that changes the behavior completely. Because now it's not just look at me, it's look at what I have. And that subtle difference is important, because it turns the behavior into something more than just attention-seeking. It becomes interaction, almost like your dog is trying to create a moment with you. And once you see it like that, you start noticing something else. The way they hold the object. Carefully, not aggressively, not destructively, just holding it. And that's not typical bad behavior. That's controlled. That's deliberate. And that suggests something else is going on beneath the surface. Something instinctive. Something that's been part of their behavior for a long time. But most people never connect those dots. They just see a dog stealing socks. And that's it. But if you zoom out a little and look at the pattern, the timing, the object, and the reaction, it starts to paint a very different picture. One that actually explains why this behavior is so consistent across so many golden retrievers, and why it feels so familiar to so many owners. Because it's not just something your dog does, it's something golden retrievers are naturally inclined to do. But here's the part that most people don't realize. Because this behavior didn't just appear out of nowhere. It actually connects to something much deeper. Something in how these dogs were originally bred, and how that still shows up in the way they behave today. And once you understand that, this random habit suddenly makes a lot more sense. But before we get into that, there's one more thing you need to notice. Because not every golden retriever does this in the exact same way. Some will bring the object to you, others will walk away with it. Some will wait for you to react. Others seem to already expect it. And those differences matter, because they tell you how your dog is using this behavior, not just why it exists. And that's exactly what we're going to break down in part 2, how this behavior connects to your dog's instincts, why golden retrievers in particular do this more than other breeds, and what your dog is actually trying to do in that moment. Because once you understand that, you'll never look at that stolen sock the same way again.
In part 1, we talked about how golden retrievers seem to randomly grab things like socks, shoes, and other objects, and how it actually isn't random at all. But now comes the interesting part. Why this behavior exists in the first place. Because once you understand that, everything suddenly clicks. Golden retrievers weren't just bred to be friendly dogs, they were bred to retrieve. That's literally what their name means. Their job was to pick something up and bring it back without damaging it. Soft mouth, controlled grip, carry, don't destroy. And that instinct didn't disappear just because they live in a house now. It's still there. It just shows up in a different way. Because your dog doesn't have birds to retrieve anymore, so it replaces that behavior with something else. And what do they choose? Objects that are easy to carry, soft, and most importantly, connected to you. Socks, slippers, clothes, things that smell like you. And that's not a coincidence, because to your dog, those items are the closest thing to you when you're not interacting with them. So when they pick up a sock, they're not just grabbing a random object. They're engaging with something that represents you. And that's why they hold it so carefully. That's why they don't destroy it. Because the instinct isn't to break it. It's to carry it. And once you see that, the behavior starts to make a lot more sense. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Because this instinct alone doesn't fully explain when they do it. Remember those moments we talked about in part 1? Right before you leave. Right after you come home. When things are quiet. When attention shifts. That's where instinct and behavior start to overlap. Because now your dog isn't just retrieving, it's using that instinct in a social way. For example, when you're about to leave the house, your dog senses that shift. Your movement changes. Your routine changes. And instead of just reacting, it grabs something. Almost like it's trying to hold on to the moment, or create one last interaction. And when you come back home, same thing. High energy, excitement, and suddenly, there's a sock in their mouth again. Not destroyed. Just there. Like a way of managing that moment. And this is where most people misinterpret the behavior. They think the dog is being naughty, stealing things, doing something it shouldn't. But from the dog's perspective, it's doing exactly what it was designed to do. Carry something. Hold something. Stay connected. And that's why this behavior feels so natural to them. Because it is. But here's something most people don't realize. Your reaction actually shapes this behavior more than you think. Every time your dog grabs something and you react, you reinforce the moment. Not in a bad way, but in a meaningful way. Because now the behavior isn't just instinct. It's interaction. And over time, your dog starts linking those two together. When I do this, something happens. And that makes the behavior even stronger. But here's the key detail. If this was only about attention, your dog would escalate it. It would destroy things, chew harder, be more chaotic. But golden retrievers usually don't. They stay controlled. They hold instead of destroy. And that's because the instinct is still guiding the behavior. Carry, not break. And that balance is what makes this behavior so unique. It sits right between instinct and learned interaction. And that's why it shows up so consistently across this breed. But there's one more layer to this. And it's subtle, but important. Because not every golden retriever uses this behavior in the exact same way. Some will bring the object directly to you, almost like an offering. Others will keep distance, like they want you to notice, but not take it immediately. And some will simply hold it while watching you, waiting. And that difference tells you something about your dog specifically. Because now it's not just instinct. It's personality layered on top of it. How confident they are, how they seek attention, how they interact with you. And once you start noticing those differences, you realize this behavior isn't just a golden retriever thing, it's your golden retriever's version of it. And that's what makes it interesting. Because now it's not just a habit, it's communication, a way your dog interacts with you, without using words. And once you see it like that, everything changes. The next time your dog walks past you with a sock, you won't just see a stolen item. You'll see a behavior that's been shaped by instinct, reinforced by interaction, and personalized over time. And that's why this random habit is actually one of the most telling things about your dog.